Hi guys. Um, so before I get into the video, I just want to apologize if the audio is a little wonky. I'm recording laying down because my back really hurts, so I don't know how that's going to affect the projection of my voice and the way the mic picks it up, so apologies in advance if it's wonky. So, on the fan theories video I did a couple weeks ago, a lot of you guys left your own thoughts and theories in the comments, which thank you so much for, by the way. I had a blast reading them while I was away on my trip, but there was this one theory in particular that really stuck out to me, to the point where I pinned the comment at the top of the video and asked the poster if they would mind if I made a video on their theory, because it really is a good one, and they said sure. But I kind of waffled back and forth on whether to actually do it or not, because I wasn't sure there was enough to actually support the theory. But as I was working on this week's video, another charmed one, imagine that, out of the blue I suddenly remembered something Phoebe said that made me go, yeah, we're doing that video after all. So here we are with one more fan theory brought to us by Nicholas Jones, and I hope you guys love it as much as I did. So first, let's read Nicholas's theory. So, Nicholas said, I have a theory about the patient that Dr. Griffiths was supposed to save, the life that they didn't want him to save. In the original timeline before Prue died, the life that they didn't want him to save was Paige's. Think about it. When the sisters first walk in the house during All Hell Breaks Loose, Phoebe mentions she had a premonition of the attack on Dr. Griffiths. I can't control how far in the future my premonitions take place. I saw the attack, we kicked butt, what more do you want? As far as we know, Phoebe only ever had 2 premonitions with Shax in them. One was the premonition of Dr. Griffiths, and the other was the one where Shax attacked Paige on the rooftop and charmed again. The original premonition must have been what we see at the end of All Hell Breaks Loose, because, as evidenced in the show before this, Phoebe gets premonitions that she's not supposed to change, too, like the vision of the urn going under the couch at the end of the Season 2 finale. That's one of many examples, but again, bear with me. Thus, everything happened as it was supposed to, and Paige's destiny was always to unite with Piper and Phoebe, and Prue's destiny was always to die. This was alluded to a lot since the beginning of the show as well. So when Phoebe isn't at the house once time is reset, she obviously isn't able to save Prue, but she couldn't save the Doctor either. So when that critical event was changed, Destiny intervened and Paige became their new innocent in the place of Dr. Griffiths. This has some weight to it, because the Charmed Ones encountered people who weren't destined to be saved all throughout the course of the show, and it led directly to the Charmed Ones saving another life instead. One example that comes to mind is Martha Van Leeuwen and her grandson in Season 2. Her destiny was to die to keep her grandson alive, like, perhaps, it was Prue's destiny to die so that her baby sister could live. Also with this theory, it means that Paige was, albeit indirectly, the final innocent that the original Power of Three ever saved. Which is so sweet, by the way. I love the way they said that. But you see why I thought this theory was so cool? Imagine if all this time, what seemed like a flawed, rushed plot design was actually a masterstroke. Why Phoebe wasn't there, why we didn't see the premonition she had, they all could have just been pieces of the puzzle. And since I wasn't the only one this theory interested, we were kind of discussing the actual logistics of it in the comments, and we were trying to brainstorm why the source, and by extension Shax, would have even been after Paige in the first place. And building on what Nicholas said, here's my additional theory. Maybe it had absolutely nothing to do with being a Charmed One at all. I mean, the source probably had no clue anyway, as Paige was not a true witch yet, but she did have access to her White Lighter side. So what if the source didn't send Shax after Paige due to being a witch, but a White Lighter? We know that despite not having access to her charm powers yet, Paige had some access to her dormant White Lighter side, as she accidentally orbed out to save herself from danger on multiple occasions before ever becoming a witch. And we've seen in the show before the evil side trying to off good people who are either saving too many lives or do so much good that they have the potential to go on to be White Lighters after they die, and Paige would fit that description like a glove, because not only did Paige already have White Lighter powers, so definitely definitely Whitelighter potential, but she was also working as an assistant social worker when we first meet her, so definitely an altruistic person in a position to help a lot of people, which we know the bad guys don't like. So what if that's what prompted the Source to get rid of her, but fate intervened? And this is the thing that caused me to do the video after all, but remember how Phoebe said that Paige looked familiar when she met her at Prue's funeral?
Have we met somewhere?
No, I don't think so.
You sure you don't recognize her from anywhere?
Well, she did look familiar, like I've seen her somewhere before.
We assume that's because they're sisters and Phoebe just senses that connection, but what if she actually had seen Paige before, in her premonitions? We never actually saw the premonition that led the sisters to rushing to save Dr. Griffiths. We don't know what Phoebe saw, just that...
I think he would have attacked by now if we hadn't.
Who? Who would have attacked? Why won't you tell me what's going on?
Because we're busy trying to save your life.
From who?
Unfortunately, we're not quite sure.
That's because Phoebe did not give us enough time to figure it out.
Well, I didn't have a lot of time. I mean, I can't control how far in the future my premonitions take place. I saw the attack. We kicked butt. What more do you want?
And it would make sense if Phoebe couldn't automatically remember having seen Paige in the premonition, given that they come and go so fast, and then she had to deal with the trauma of the death of her sister and losing an innocent in the aftermath, and then bounty hunters trying to kill her boyfriend at her sister's funeral. Like, she was dealing with a lot. And then when Cole used magic in season 5 to create an alternate timeline where they had never met Paige and the Charmed Ones were never reborn as a result, we find out that the Source still had Paige killed in that timeline, which actually doesn't make sense that he would do if he was only after her because she was a Charmed One, because he wouldn't have known. The only reason Phoebe met Paige was because she came to Prue's funeral, which she only did because Piper's To Find a Lost Witch spell sent her the newspaper detailing when and where Prue's funeral was, causing Paige to leave work and attend. So, it can be assumed But really, Cole's objective with using magic to change the timeline was to make it to where Phoebe never met Paige and the Charmed Ones were never reborn.
The day that Phoebe met her new sister. The day the Charmed Ones were reconstituted.
Go back in time?
No. Better. Undo what was to change what is. We were at our best, Phoebe and I, before Paige. If they hadn't found each other, we'd be married instead.
So I think it can be assumed that what Cole's spell did was change the critical event that led Paige to them, where Piper cast the Lost Witch spell, so it never happened, and as a result, Paige never came to the funeral, and so how would the evil side even know about her and had her killed? Piper's spell seems to be what put the feelers out for Evil Side to find her in the first place, considering the Oracle, the one who spilled the beans that Paige existed to the Source, specifically mentions that she saw a witch's call on the spirit winds.
But then how would you see into the future without me?
Without the Charmed Ones to worry about anymore, I may not need to.
Well, in that case, you better keep me around a little while longer.
What do you see?
I see a witch's call on the spirit winds. I see another.
But since that never happened in this timeline, the Source wouldn't have known about her and had no reason to have her killed, but he obviously did, since Leo confirms this.
After you left, I went and checked with the elders. They confirmed your story that there was, in fact, another sister. Only they didn't know until it was too late, until after the Source had already had you killed.
Also, her tombstone says she died in 2001, but not the month or the day, so it very well could have been right around the time of Prue's death. P.S. I was literally working on this exact part of the script when I got another comment pointing out how Paige also could have died in the alternate timeline because the doctor who would have saved her, Dr. Griffiths, had been killed. Thus, he couldn't save her life after she was attacked. All this leads us back to the theory that it was Paige that Shax was ultimately trying to get to, and the idea that maybe the Source wanted that because she was going to be a powerful Whitelighter, which, she did become in season 8? It was 8, right? Anyway, I really, really love this theory, but in the interest of balance, there are some flaws I couldn't really get around. The main two being Prue saying that
you're a healer, you do good. Now, either you have saved too many lives, or you're about to save a life that they don't want you to save.
Suggesting that Phoebe never actually saw a victim and therefore couldn't have recognized Paige from her premonition. And B, why not just send Shax after Paige in the first place then? I mean, if that's what the source ended up doing after all, then it makes more sense to just cut out the middleman, Dr. Griffiths, and go straight for Paige. I mean, maybe Dr. Griffiths just annoyed them too, but still. But then again, thinking about that, the Oracle pretty much said that seeing the future isn't an exact science, and obviously she can't always see as clearly as she'd like to. So maybe she couldn't see Paige specifically. She could just see Dr. Griffiths saving a patient that was going to cause them a lot of trouble down the line. So while they didn't know the identity of the patient that was going to cause them trouble, they did know the identity of the doctor, and that's why they went for him? I don't know. In any case, despite the holes in the theory, I still think it's really cool, and thanks again to everyone who contributed and let me share it. Let me know what you think too. And so I will leave you guys for now. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. Bye-bye.